Hello, my friend. As always, I've got a question for you. This one's a little bit different. Here's my question. Have you ever, in the summer, laid on your back, out in the country, no light pollution, and just stared up at the stars? This is one of my all-time favorite things to do. You could ask my kids every vacation, anytime we went camping. I always just like to look up there and say, man, God, great job. In fact, this is a primary theological understanding of the Apostle Paul. Let me explain. Years ago, I was traveling around the country and I was doing these open Q&A sessions on secular universities. I got invited to a very kind of, how should I say it? The reputation was anti-faith private university on the East Coast. And we were going to do a series of dorm talks there. And at one of these dorm talks, they said, this is the honors dorm. This is going to be brutal, Kurt. They're going to have so many hostile questions. I went in there a little bit nervous, but it turns out their questions were completely fair, very polite, very intelligent. And we ended up having this great conversation about the fine-tuning of the universe and is the Bible reliable, and science and faith, are they mutually exclusive? After the talk, students gathered around me and we continued to have the discussion more one-on-one. And one guy, a little bit older guy, he just waited until, well, he was the last one. He said, hey, I don't have a question for you. I just wanted to tell you something. I'm a professor of physics here. And I came to faith much in the same way you did, Kurt. I didn't go to church. I didn't know any Christians. I just kept looking at the universe. He reminded me of this great verse, Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. In other words, the great instinct of science is to observe, to experiment and observe and experiment. This professor had come to God by simply observing the universe. He said, once I found God, then I started looking at the historical evidence for Jesus Christ coming to earth. And then I found Jesus. You wouldn't have predicted that at a highly intellectual, very reputation for being anti-God, you would see so many smart students that were open to the gospel and open to dialogue. And you wouldn't expect a physics professor to say, man, just looking at the stars, it's what led me to Jesus Christ. Well, you wouldn't expect it unless you've traveled to these campuses. I have, and I've met Christian after Christian after Christian, usually in the science departments. In fact, a recent survey, 2016, surveying scientists all around the globe, said the vast majority of them rejected the idea that faith and science were in conflict. And many of them said, I am a person of faith. I simply agree with Paul. The more you actually look at the creation, the more chance you have of discovering a creator.